So excited! Yay! It is me, and I'm coming to you live from my computer. And I'm gonna interview my really fun friend Kathy. And we just are excited to tell you a little more about what we do in Mary Kay and how this whole thing works. And what I think I love the most is that I got picked that I could actually like ask my friend Kathy to share her story. And I was like cracking up because I was thinking to myself, dude, of all the people I know that, like would not be a typical Mary Kay person, I'm like, Kathy Steinman is the one that you would go, like, you look at her now and you go, oh, but she's just so fancy and she has this long fancy hair and her makeup looks so slamming. But I knew her when she started and her story.
We're not going to tell those stories, are we?
No, we're not telling those stories, Kathy. We're not going to get all up in there, but we are going to talk about some of the interesting things about you that I think make you such a unique example of our wonderful Mary Kay opportunity. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my wonderful friend Kathy Stein. We've been friends for 17 years, 18 years, ever since I've been in Mary Kay. And what I want to do is just I'm so thrilled that you're able to join us this evening. And I'm glad for anybody who would join in. And if you listen back, I know you're going to get a treat. And be sure that you tell your beauty consultant what you love the most about the presentation, what you love most about Kathy, and anything you found that was interesting or unusual that you might not have known or thought was a possibility. Okay, this is just going to like open your mind, like open your mind. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so Kathy, love for you to tell us how long you've been Mary Kay, and how did you get into the Mary Kay opportunity? Because again, you're not a typical person who would just gravitate to an opportunity where you're speaking and talking to other people. Do tell.
So I've been building my business for almost 20 years, actually. Believe it or not. I know, I don't even look at that, and nobody will ever guess.
It's fabulous skincare.
Nobody will ever guess my age.
No.
And before I got into Mary Kay, my skincare routine was whatever shampoo ran down my face.
Wow.
I didn't understand why people put makeup on their face every day. Like, I just thought that was so stupid.
There you go. Yeah.
And I thought, skincare was just like, what's wrong with soap and water, right? Like, what's the problem there? And so I had a Mary Kay consultant, and I had a party for her, and I shared her with friends and family because she was, whatever she asked, and she was nice. But she never shared the Mary Kay opportunity with me. And so I like to share it with everybody that I pamper because I don't want to make the same mistake, right? And this has been the biggest blessing in my life, but a blessing that I did not know that I wanted or needed. And talk about, hand in God's face going, whatever. What else do you got for me? And so my sister-in-law, Cheryl, actually joined Mary Kay 3 weeks before I did, actually. And she was just as part of her training, which is a lot of consultants have guests either on here tonight or listening, watching this recording. It's just part of their training, so they know how to do this part of the business, right? And so I told her, I flat out told her, I said, I will listen to help you out. I'll do anything to help you. I said, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if your director gets pushy, she's gonna hear a dial tone. So you just need to warn her about that. I'd never met her director. I just, but you hear all the direct selling where they're really pushy and and that just kind of, and so she said, well, you'll like Nita, and she's really not pushy. I was like, I'm just giving you a heads up. The dial tone will appear if I feel that she's being pushy. And so it was just a phone call is all it was. And Nita she did more asking questions than she did anything else. And she gave me some information. There were two things in all the facts that she gave me. She told me that it was an unlimited earning potential. And I was like, what's a politically correct word? Well, that's just BS, right? Spell it all out, but that's what I thought it was. And because that's just like, that's not reality, right? And then she told me that I had total freedom and flexibility with my time. And I was like, Right. I worked in corporate America for years. There was no freedom. There was no flexibility. It was, there was definitely not an unlimited earning potential, lots of glass ceilings. And so, and then she told me the thing I think that made me really pay attention was that the self-confidence and the self-esteem that you can build by building a Mary Kay business. And I know that sounds really weird. Like, why would that be the reason anybody would want to join something? But that was the key that unlocked the door for me. And so, she also said, Forbes magazine had done research, and in their article they stated blah, 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 all these women are making six figures. But that was like, whatever, like, you make money, you spend money, and then you die. Like, what? But who are you in the process of the birth date and the death date? Like, who are you becoming in the process? And I actually had been living with panic attacks for over 20 years. Like, literally, this is not an exaggeration. For me to drive a half a mile to the grocery store was a major catastrophic event for me every time. And there were multiple times where I would literally call my husband from the store and say, I need you to come pick me up. I can't bring the gallon of milk to the cashier and have her ring it up because I was having a major panic attack. And I had lived like this for over 20 years. I had done the medication routine. It didn't work. I did the counseling routine. That didn't work. And so I joined Mary Kay for the self-confidence and the self-esteem building.
That blows my mind, because that you hear the word panic attack, and I've actually had some panic attacks, and they are not fun. It's not fun, and it's not controllable. It's right. And the fact that you've been dealing with this for 20 years, and yet you heard the word self-confidence and self-improvement, and that's what drew you in. Like, what? But I'm thinking to myself, didn't you in your other part of your head go, are you crazy? Like, how are you gonna do that? You can't even go to the—
I did actually. I remember going to, as women, we give the excuses, and that's really all it is. They're just excuses when we are hiding behind fear. And my excuse to Nita was, I need to think about it. That is like the lamest excuse ever, right? Because we as women, I'm sorry, but if I'm in a jewelry store, it takes me a split second to tell you what ring I want. Right? I don't need to think about it. And I have realized that Mary Kay is the best jewelry store to be in, not because of the bling that we earn, right? But just because of the jewels and the richness that it brings into our lives. And so I gave the excuse, I had to ask my husband, right? My husband and I, Dave, my husband and I do not have that kind of marriage. But that was the excuse, just to kind of keep her at bay. And she wasn't pushy at all. I was hiding behind fear because I just couldn't figure out how this was going to work. And so I went to church with my girlfriend that Wednesday night. I talked to Nita on a Tuesday. Wednesday night, I went to church with my girlfriend, and I literally, so just picture this. I walked into church, and in my brain, I'm having this conversation. Okay, Lord, here's the deal. If you want me to do this Mary Kay thing, I'm all about doing what you want me to do, but have you seen the garbage that I'm bringing with me? Like, we have a whole line of garbage trucks because a garbage bag is not big enough to contain it all. And how am I going to go to a woman's house that I may or may not know, having a panic attack just thinking about it, much less doing it, and present a product that I may or may not know anything about, because I thought soap and water was the deal, right? And I just couldn't see how I could be successful. I just couldn't see it. And all I heard was, do you trust me? I'm like, yeah, Lord, I do trust you. But let me just say, in case you're not seeing exactly what's happening here on earth, let me just explain to you, like, why I don't think this is a great idea. One, I don't really like women. I think they're catty. Secondly, I don't like makeup. I think it's stupid. And this is a company with women in makeup. So I'm thinking to myself, how, of all the companies the Lord could lead me to, of all the companies, this was not even No. Wasn't even in the same universe. And so I, again, explained to the Lord, okay, let me just show you the facts as to why this will not work. And all I kept hearing is, do you trust me? And to the point where I really thought it was a one-sided conversation. I didn't really think he was listening to me. And I have since found out that it was I who was not the one listening. And so that was on a Wednesday. And then the following Tuesday, they had their Mary Kay meeting, right? And so I was invited to go to the meeting to check it out. And I had talked with my husband about it. And I was like, I'm really kind of thinking about this. I want to do it, but I don't know how I could do it. And he had given the example. He's in sales and he's very, very successful. And he said, we're having this serious conversation about this career, what I felt was going to be a career decision when it ended up being, but it didn't have to be. And in the middle of this in-depth, serious conversation, he all of a sudden says, offer me a piece of gum. I'm like, whoo, hello, focus. We're talking here. And he goes, I know, but offer me a piece of gum. I said, Dave, we're having a conversation here. Can you please stay focused? And he goes, I am focused. Offer me a piece of gum. I said, would you like a piece of gum? And he went, no, thank you. Well, I could have killed him and told God that he died. I was like, what does have anything to do with anything? Where I'm trying to figure out, do I really want to stress myself out and do this? Or do I just want to stay in my little shell, in my little cave and barely get through the day, right? And that's just going to be my life, right? And he said, well, you told me that you had a fear of rejection, that if somebody told you no, that would make you feel bad. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, but I just told you I didn't want a piece of gum and it didn't faze you at all. I said, because you just didn't want a piece of gum. And he goes, you're going to offer people skincare, glamour, body lotions, whatever Mary Kay sells, right? And some of them are going to tell you yes, and some of them are going to tell you no. But you don't get excited about the yes, and you don't get discouraged about the no. It's neat. It doesn't make any difference. It just means that what you're offering them is not what they need or want. It has nothing to do with you. I was like, oh, I can do that. Like, that's easy. I can totally do that, right? And so then I got to thinking, okay, well, how am I going to overcome this whole panic attack thing? Because the grocery store is like a necessity in my world. And this whole Mary Kay thing is not a necessity. And so I didn't know how I was going to navigate that. But I went to the meeting. I literally had to go with my sister-in-law because I literally could not drive the 20 minutes to the meeting. And what I saw just blew me away. There was such a open acceptance and support system, like not just a support system of fake support system, but from the depth of your heart, I genuinely care about other people, support system culture that I have never seen before then or since then anywhere else in the world, anywhere else in the community. I mean, and I'm involved in networking groups and all that. And they say they support one another. But when you got problems happening in your world, they cannot be found. Right. And that's not true with Mary Kay. That's totally not true within the Mary Kay culture. And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be part of that. I didn't care about the girlfriends because I still didn't like women. And I really didn't care about the glamour. As a matter of fact, I sell more skincare than I do glamour. I'm still not crazy about the glamour 20 years later, but I'm 63 years old and I don't look 63. I don't act it either. And it's the skincare. I'm very excited about the skincare. And so I signed my agreement that night. I couldn't drive home from the meeting by myself. I couldn't figure out all the details of all the things that I thought should be the reason I didn't do this, because I didn't have it all. I didn't have anything figured out. I just knew that I wanted to be a better version of me, and I knew I was capable. I just needed a support system and somebody that already figured it all out so that I could follow in that pathway. Kind of like Dorothy and following the yellow brick road. I could follow the yellow brick road, And so here we are almost 20 years later, and I'm getting ready to go in February. I'm going to Mexico, and I'll be flying there by my lonesome.
And I can testify, you've flown multiple places by your lonesome.
By myself.
Gotten off of, I mean, you by yourself. I can testify that, you know, obviously what stopped you, what would have stopped you, and what anybody on the outside looking in would have said, are you kidding me? Like, that girl can't do that. Like, she can't even, go to the grocery store by herself. And yet here you are 20 years later, but you were willing to just, go ahead and do it. So my question too, then it kind of becomes, after you're in it, and now you're in Mary Kay, and so my thought is that obviously there was some personal growth along the way.
Oh my word, yes.
With what you're talking about with the panic attacks, because obviously you don't have them with the same frequency as you did.
I don't have them now. Well, every now and then when I feel them kind of starting to try to come in, I just start laughing. I was like, oh, we're not going there. Whatever. I got better things to do with my life than live in fear.
Well, they'll live in fear. Well, and so my other thought would be like, what, now that you're in Mary Kay, obviously you're learning along the way, and it probably wasn't all smooth sailing. It wasn't probably all perfect. So it probably was not all, so I wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing, like, if there were some instances when you wanted to like, be like, I'm out, like, what was I thinking? All that, do you have any funny or scary instances that ever happened to you in this length of time as you're growing personally and not having panic attacks like you had before?
Oh my gosh. So two immediately come to mind, totally different. So I went to one woman's house. I had booked her on the phone, and I had, coached her as a hostess, the whole bit. And when I showed up at her house, she was excited that I was there. And I, started laying out things on the table for her where I was going to pamper her with. And she looked at the product, and she looked back at me, and she goes, "You're with Mary Kay?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I thought you were with Avon." I just started cracking up, and I was like, well, now I've never had that happen before. I said, no, I'm a Mary Kay consultant. And I said, you still want to get pampered? She goes, well, sure, you're already here. She bought the skincare. She bought it all. She loved it. And
that
then
is hilarious.
Shortly after I was in Mary Kay, like probably within the first 3 months, because really after about the 4th month, I stopped having panic attacks. Like I had been living with them for 20 years. And after being in Mary Kay, and I was having so much fun, which totally surprised me. I just stopped having them. Like I was like, well, where are they? Like, what? How come they're not happening? And my husband's laughing. He goes, like, don't go looking for them.
No, yeah. We don't want. But I remember. Geez, that's amazing.
I remember I was maybe in 2 or 3 months, and I was going to. We don't live too far from the country, and I was going out in the country, like wood cabins, the whole bit. And I could feel the panic coming in. And so I called my director, right? I called Nita, and I said, okay, I just need for you to talk to me because I'm having a panic attack. And she goes, no, you're not. I went, yes, I am. She goes, no, you're not. I went, Nita, I'm having a panic attack right now. She goes, Kathy, no, you're not. I went, yeah, yes, I am. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm arguing with her about I'm having a panic attack, right? And it made me start laughing. She's never had a panic attack before in her life. She has no idea what I was going through. And she says, well, just look around and tell me what's going on around you. She says, are you in traffic? And I went, no. She says, what's going on around you? And I said, well, there's lots of trees and fields. And there's nothing out there but fields of trees. And I'm all by myself. She goes, no, you're not. She got me on the phone. I said, yeah, but you're in Alexandria. I'm way out in Warrenton, which is like an hour and a half away. I said, if I have a stroke or a heart attack or something, how are you going to help me? She goes, well, you're not going to have one. I went, but how do you know? I mean, the craziest conversation in the whole world. But you know what? I didn't turn around and come back home. Wow. I went to that appointment.
And sisterhood and Mary Kay. I'm gonna say that, like, just I mean, you're arguing with her about a panic attack.
It's crazy. It's craziness.
Wow. That's hilarious. Well, like I say, I know it wasn't all smooth sailing, and it's great that you were able to learn enough that when you get to someone's house and they're not even expecting you to, it's like the wrong product in their mind. It was really the right product. She just didn't have any idea. But obviously, and like that could be like one of those jaw drop, like into your chest, like, your heart stops beating, your stomach goes down and all that kind of thing. But she obviously worked through that. So that's pretty impressive. Well, so I do have to ask, it is like, it's the holiday season right now. And, it's, for early December. So I personally think that it's a great time to have a Mary Kay opportunity fall into your
Oh my
lap.
gosh.
Because personally, to me, it's just the best time ever. But I'd love for you to say, what is it about right now? And after being through 20 of these times, since you've been a Mary Kay for almost 20 years, what is it about the time right now that you think is the best reason that people should, throw their heart to the across the line? Because apparently, if you have panic attacks, you can still do this.
Yes.
Like, clearly. You're in cars and everything else, clearly you can still do this. What makes you think that this is the perfect time?
This is the perfect time. Simply because if time is the reason that you're giving for not doing this, there is a lack of time management skills that need to be learned.
Ouch, but true. Yes.
Yeah. So ouch, but true. Because when I joined Mary Kay, when I signed my agreement, I was working 60 hours between two jobs. I was going to school 2 nights a week to finish my degree. So of course there's outside homework with inside classes, right? I had 2 teenagers, 3 if you include my husband. 2 of them did grow up. The other one is still entertaining us. And I had a really old dog. Like, you'd wake up in the morning and go, okay, is she breathing? Like, you just had that stress in your house, right? And so and Anna had panic attacks. So when somebody says, I just don't have time, what that tells me is, oh, no. What you don't have is time management skills. And that is something you will learn when you join Mary Kay. So that's a benefit. So what's the real reason that you're giving me for now's not the right time to join? And then they'll say, well, I don't have any money. Well, girl, if you can't afford $30 or 130 to give you an opportunity that could change your life, and I'm telling you, I've seen it more times than not that it does, then there's a lack of money management happening in your world. And FYI, you're going to learn that in building your Mary Kay business as well. And then the other thing is, they just can't make a decision. I'm just going to wait until the new year. And my response to that is, oh, now is the time. You have no time to waste because you're lacking emotional management. That is also a skill you're going to learn. And so it's December 1st. This is the perfect time. Of any other time of the year, December is the perfect time. And there are more $1 million sales directors and national sales directors and top directors and car driving directors that have joined in December than most other times, simply because there is a reason that you're being presented the opportunity now. If you were meant to join in January, you wouldn't be listening to this recording now. And if you're listening to it in January, well, then this is the time that you're supposed to be. But if you're watching this now and your reasoning for not taking advantage of this is, I don't have time. I don't have the money. Christmas is coming up. I need to save all my money for Christmas. Okay, that's a scarcity mentality. And that gives us a life of scarcity. And we've learned in Mary Kay to think abundantly, and therefore we live an abundant life, right? And that is something we want to share with other women. I am so passionate. I am so passionate about passing this opportunity on to women, not because we need more people peddling lipsticks. I'm passionate about passing on this opportunity because we need more women who live in an abundant mentality.
Exactly.
Because you cannot teach what you do not know. And if you're living in a scarcity mentality, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, right? Now's not the right time, whatever. You're passing that mentality onto your children.
It's fear. It's a fear mentality.
It's a fear. Do you want your kids living in fear?
No.
And so, I mean, I have 4 grandchildren. I have an 11-year-old who owns his own business. Where do you think he learned that from?
Right.
Right. And he's learning the tithing concept. You tithe 10% to God first. You tithe 10% to yourself second. And then you manage the rest of your money. Right.
Right.
He was just talking about his next goal is to build his savings account up to $1,000.
That
What 11-year-old thinks like that. Right. And so now is the time. Now is the time, because putting off you becoming the true you God created you to be, girl, we can't waste any time for that to happen, because you're so amazing that let's get going. It's worth it. I'm telling you, that 20 seconds of courage is so worth it. I'm so glad I signed my beauty agreement, shaking and shivering and asking myself, what the heck am I getting myself into? My brothers called one another and they went, what is she doing? She doesn't even up. Now she's going to sell it. This is going to be interesting.
I know, that's what's crazy. I know, that's what is so crazy about it. But it's a good kind of crazy. And honestly, it's the best decision you've ever made. And I've often said, it is the best decision I've ever made, as far as the changes that have happened in my life. Well, I'm going to share the screen really quick and just show the peeps what is available right now. This is what's going on right now, and it's a short time. You guys have a limited option for those who are watching back. We have something called EStart, and that's something that's
wonderful. Yes,
$30. $30 is what you can start the Mary Kay opportunity for. That's the minimum amount you can start, and that ends at the end of December. And so that's the other reason it's a great time, because because that's going away. And so I'm like, wow, you can't even get to get dinner and go to Starbucks for under $30, and you could have a brand new lifestyle if you chose to make this work. So that's the simplest, the cheapest way to get in, as we say. And then there are options. The other options that are available are your full-size starter kit with your website, as you can see here listed, and credit card processing. And then also, you could also have an optional add-on sample kit. So those are things available to you, but that only is for a limited time, and that stops at the end of December. So that's why I wanted to let people think about that. So anybody who is on, who are watching back, that's a guest, we definitely want to know. This is your consultant will follow up to find out if you're an A, B, C, or D. And A is, okay, I'm all in because I don't even have panic attacks, but I could probably do this because Kathy did it and she has panic attacks. So surely I can figure this out. Like, really, it's not that hard, right? That's the A. A B is, okay, that sounds really cool, but I may have a couple questions, still have, on the fence here. That's a B.
And that was me.
Exactly. We had to think about it. Okay, right. All this. Right? Yeah. So
which was a total excuse.
Right. Great customer, you're not yet ready for whatever reason, and that's fine. We love all our customers, but that's a C. And a D is, oh Lord, I would rather just eat dirt and be down the side of the road than be part of your K team. That's a D. And I'm like, oh, you don't want to be D because that's just such a sad space. So let your consultant know if you're an A, B, C, or D, and then you'll probably getting an extra special something for helping your consultant out with her training, because that's a lot of what this is learning how to share. So again, thank you, Kathy, for being so much fun and sharing all the details and the fabulousness.
For asking me. I appreciate that.
And the hilarity of I love that, yeah, you are the least likely person that anybody would say, oh yeah, she'll be successful. She turned how many cars? And 10 and had panic attacks before she started. I'm just thinking to myself, dude, if you can do that, anybody can figure this out. I'm just saying. So,
and it's not the material things that I've my business. I mean, I make an executive income and I don't work 40 hours a week.
No,
it's not that's the biggest blessing. What's the biggest blessing is the impact it's made on me and the impact it's made on my kids and my grandchildren.
Exactly. For future to come, because you can't teach what you do not know and you can't leave where you're not gone. And so therefore, when you face your fears and you do it anyway, that's an amazing skill you teach your kids. And I know that from personal experience myself. All right, well, let me stop the recording. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks.